OCR A-level biology. We're now on module 4.1, which is about communicable diseases. So I'm going to split this into a few videos because some of this module is about just pathogens and the microbiology of these pathogens, where one video will be about plant defenses, and then I'm going to have at least 2 videos on human defenses against pathogens. So first up, we're going to talk about pathogens, what they are, how they cause diseases, and ways in which you can transmit diseases. So first up, we're going to look at pathogens. So pathogens, so communicable diseases are diseases that are caused by pathogens. And pathogens are organisms that cause disease. So we have a bunch of different pathogens here that we're going to be going over. So this first one is bacteria. So bacteria, these are living organisms. So these are prokaryotic cells, which means they have no nucleus and no membrane-bound organelles. And these are smaller than eukaryotic cells, and they can reproduce very quickly. So they can reproduce rapidly. So they can reproduce up to every 20 minutes, which is pretty fast. Once in the host body, they can multiply rapidly, and their presence can cause disease. So they either damage cells or they release toxins that can harm body cells. So that's on bacteria. So now we're going to use examples. So I'm going to do purple for examples. And examples include tuberculosis, bacterial meningitis. There's also viral meningitis, which we'll get, but you don't need to know that one. Bacterial meningitis. And there's also, and there's also for plants, which I'll do in this screen, is ring rot. In plants. Oops. And I'm not going to write the organism that causes it, the name of the bacteria that causes each of these, because it's in your textbook, and I do not want to, and I don't think I have enough space for all of this. So we're going to quickly talk about treatment. So how we can treat bacterial diseases. So treatment. The main way is through the use of antibiotics. And some bacteria are resistant to some antibiotics. So, for instance, MRSA stands for methicillin resistance, and then SA is the name of the bacterial species, which is Staphylococcus aureus, and that is resistance to the methicillin. So hospitals have a way of determining which antibiotic is best for that type of bacteria. So we have an example here, which I will zoom in to. So here we have these discs that you can see. These are impregnated or loaded with a different antibiotic. And here you can take some bacteria which is taken from the patient. So this is bacteria from the patient. And you can see which antibiotic is the most effective at combating this species of bacteria. So here you can see, for instance, that these ones are effective against bacteria, against this particular species of bacteria, whereas, as you can see, they have a clear zone around them, which shows that bacteria is not growing there because it's being killed off by this antibiotic. So this zone, I'm going to label it here, is the zone of inhibition. And you can see here, for this bacteria, for this antibiotic, you can see that there is no zone of inhibition, which means it's not good. So for this particular patient, the clinicians might want to use this bacteria, this antibiotic, or any of these antibiotics. It depends which one is the most effective. The antibiotics which are the most effective against this bacteria, which are this red one, this lime one, this maroon colored one, and the dark green one. Maybe they wouldn't. The white one they would use, but this pink magenta one they will not use because it's the bacteria are resistant to that antibiotic. Anyway, moving on. And then that's also another one way you can combat bacteria is or prevent bacterial infections in the first place is through vaccines. So there are different vaccines for different species or different diseases or different bacterial diseases. So moving on to the next one, which is viruses. So viruses. So viruses are unusual in the sense that they are non-living. They are non-living and they can only replicate inside cells. Replicate, I can't even spell replicate. Inside cells. And they cause many different diseases. So they hijack cells, hijack cell machinery, and then use that to effectively take over their cell. So they take over the machinery that allows them to replicate themselves. So here we have a typical virus, and let's go through what the different structures are. So I'm going to go through these in orange. So this here, we have the DNA / RNA. So this is just the genetic material. Here we have a protein coat around the DNA RNA. This is called a capsid. And then this here is the outer lipid membrane. And then these here are commonly known as spike proteins or outer proteins. So let's go through our examples. So I'm going to keep my bubble for examples. So the first one is HIV. the human immunodeficiency virus. And the second one is influenza or the flu. And there's also, let's say, the common cold. And then COVID-19 as well. They're commonly caused by viruses. Ebola is another one. You don't need to know all of these. I think but Ebola is one as well. You don't need to know all of these. I think the main two you need to know are HIV and flu, maybe COVID-19. Ebola, you don't really need to know about, but you do need to know about HIV and flu, definitely, and maybe COVID-19 may be helpful. And then the plant ones I'm going to do separately here are the tobacco mosaic virus, tobacco mosaic virus, and I think that's the only plant one. Okay, tobacco mosaic virus. There we go. So for treatment, we normally use so for treatment we use again vaccines for viruses, but we also have antivirals as well. And these affect viral replication within cells. If you don't know what I mean by that, go down in the description below. I put a link to a very useful video done by the Amoeba sisters about antibiotics, antivirus, and vaccines. So that's all on viruses. Now fungi is, I'm going to write all the way over here because I might need there's a lot to learn about fungi. So here, fungi, these are eukaryotic cells. They can cause a variety of diseases in both plants and animals, and there are common fungal infections where the fungus lives inside the skin of an animal. So they form hyphae. So fungal cells, they form hyphae, which then forms into a mycelium. They grow underneath. It grows under the skin surface. So it literally will grow underneath. So here you have a hyphae, and so this is a single hyphae, and then inside, and then multiple hyphae would come together to form a mycelium. And this can send out reproductive hyphae, and this produces spores. And this is what causes redness and irritation. So yeah, these things are nasty stuff. So for examples, athlete's foot, there's also, are we still recording? We are still recording, okay. Athlete's foot is one of them. There's also, so we've got athlete's foot, which is caused by the fungus. Where is it? It's called P. rubrum. That's the name of the fungus. And then we also have ringworm, which is in cattle. And this is normally in cattle. And then you have for the plants, those are the only two you need for fungi in animals. And then for the plants, we have something called black sigatoka, which affects bananas. And we also have oh, that's it. Okay. And that's it for yeah. So the treatment is mainly antifungal creams. So that is on fungi. And the last thing is on protoctista or protists. And these are also eukaryotic cells. And these act as malarial parasites. These are they enter host cells and feed on contents. So they enter host cells and feed on contents. Now, the main example that you need to know here is malaria for humans. So malaria is the main one. And then for plants, it's something called blight. So now we've talked about some of the different organisms and the different types of organisms that can cause disease. Now we're going to look at how those diseases or how those pathogens are spread from person to person. So let's zoom out a bit. So basically there are 5 different ways in how pathogens can be spread. The first one is direct contact. So it's direct physical contact. And this is often involvement of touching contaminated surfaces. So let's move all the way to here. Let's zoom in a little bit. So this is direct contact. And this is often touching contaminated people slash surfaces. But what I mean by contaminated people is like people who have been infected. So for instance, this person has been infected with the pathogen. So this person has been infected. So there's a marker with a red to show that this person has been infected. There we go. And this is a healthy person. And you can see here that they've touching this person. So the pathogen will be able to migrate or go into this person from the infected person. So examples of that are for so examples of that are I'm going to keep with the theme of purple for examples is HIV. So I'm going to do bacterial meningitis. Athlete's foot is one. and ringworm. So it's mainly fungal diseases that can be spread in this way. So prevention, I'm going to do for dark green. So for prevention, you need to have good hygiene. Uh, Cleaning, so using disinfectant, disinfection, and sterilization as well. I don't know if that's how you spell hygiene. No, it's not. Okay. But who cares? Anyway. Next one is, what is this one? Exchange of fluids. So this is through needles. This can be done through sets. Can be used of sharing needles. And so on. Example of this is mainly HIV, and chlamydium is another one. Chlamydia as well. So prevention of this one is use of condoms. Mainly. Okay, next one is contamination, and this is a bit more grosser because in the textbook it's sometimes referred to as, it sounds gross, but it's called fecal oral transmission, which means exactly what it sounds like, feces mouth. So it's called fecal oral. So it's by eating infected food, and drinking contaminated water. And this is a big problem in some countries such as Africa. So some countries in Africa, or many countries in Africa, this is a problem. And the main example of this one is cholera. So cholera, I can't even spell. Yep, that's the wrong spelling. Whoops, I meant to do like this. So the main one is cholera and food poisoning. So how we can prevent it is through the use of human sewage to fertilize crops, treatment of wastewater, so treatment of wastewater, and then here also washing of fresh food and proper cooking of food mainly. The next one is airborne, and this is mostly common in two ways. So the first way is by droplet infection. So droplets. So here this person has little droplets. So this person is infected with, I don't know, the flu virus. So that's the flu virus there. and then little droplets which contain the flu virus, when this person sneezes, can be transmitted over to this person, and now this person will start to have the flu as well. If the droplets land on their face, and then the virus can get into the body system and infect a person that way. So droplets is another one, but also by spores, pathogen carried in them. So droplets, pathogen carried inside, but also by spores. Spores as well, and these are resistant stage of the pathogen, and they can be carried in the air or reside on surfaces in the soil. And good examples of droplets are flu and tuberculosis. But also good examples of spores are anthrax. So anthrax is one, and also tetanus. So prevention is the main one. The main way of prevention is catch it, bin it, kill it. And also the use of face masks. As well. Like what happened during the COVID 2020-2021. Was it during the COVID-19 pandemic of 2020 and 2021? We had the use of face masks. So, and the last way in which pathogens can be transmitted is through vectors. So in this one, vectors, these are organisms that carry pathogens from one host to another. And the best example of that is malaria. So malaria is the best example of that. And prevention, I don't think there is a prevention. So for malaria specifically, for the prevention is the use, and the malaria one, so I should have mentioned this, is mosquitoes. And the best prevention for malaria specifically is to use mosquito nets, and to use a mosquito repellent. As well. So this is the life cycle of the malaria parasite. So this is what happens inside a mosquito. I'm not going to go through this because it looks complicated, and in the textbook they show you a much more simpler diagram, but I will put a link to a video in the description below which explains this in more detail if you need it. So that's going to be the end of this video on pathogens and how they can be transmitted. In the next video, we're going to be looking at how plants defend themselves against pathogens. Now, this one I'm not really into because I'm not a plant person, but we'll see how it goes. Anyway, thanks for watching, and I'll see you in the next video. Goodbye.